Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. This is episode 3 of my Clockwork Empires Alpha 42 playthrough. At this point, I think I've covered most of the stuff that was new with the most recent patch, and so I can just get on with the business of playing my colony. And I'll try and play this in, 20-minute chunks, and you'll see me goof off and or fail horribly. I'll also be skipping forward ahead in time a little bit, just because the general pace of the game has slowed down a little bit. That was, I think, a deliberate choice on the part of the developers, which means it takes kind of a long time to develop, which is fine for the game, but kind of not fine for the purpose of videos. So you may see some time cuts from time to time. So let's look at the state of the colony. So this is my newly built barracks. And we'll look at the work crew menu. You'll see I actually have the one NCO who came with the colony. And then I assigned Verdeline Lumberly here, who's previously just a civilian NCO, to this barracks. So the barracks is one of the new buildings in Alpha 42. And any crew at all you assign there will become a military squad. Now I'm getting the loadout missing notification here in the bottom right, because I don't have enough guns. This single pistol is my colony's only weapon, and it is being used by the actual soldier. So Verdeline Lumley won't be able to help much. But we have the second squad in place just in case. Now, there's a bandit raid going on. 2 bandits are attacking. Well, I think hopefully our soldiers can fend off the bandits. Right, now you might notice these guys with the stripy outfits. These are prisoners who are here at the colony on a 3-day loan. Hard labor as part of their, part of their duties. How am I doing for jobs? I'm actually pretty good for jobs, so I'm going to mark these for foraging. Let's take a look here. I've got a fair amount of wood and stone, which is what I need for now. Let's take a look at what's going on in the kitchen. I do have a constant supply of corn coming in from this small field. Now, I did talk about changes to the farming system in the previous episode, and there's a reason this field is so small. But all I'm doing right now is I'm checking that the maize chowder production levels are representative of incoming corn levels, which they seem to be. That's cool. In brief, though, one of the big changes to Alpha 42 was that crop growth rates were doubled, or possibly even more than that. They grow very, very fast. But that also means they have to be tended more often, because if they hit a growth stage and they're not tended, they will spoil, and that'll just kill the entire plant, and you'll lose all the time that was invested in growing it. Okay, so here's the first incoming bandit, and we have our one NCO. So another new thing, new with 42, is this UI here. Anyone who's in combat. Oh. Okay, I'm going to pause here. There's a lot of stuff going on. First of all, the game's asking me how I intend to dispose of dead bandits. See that skull in the corner there? I'm actually going to draw out a graveyard, just because I like to bury the corpses. So we will show respect for the dead. So, although our colony did not have enough weapons, Verdeline Lumley actually clubbed that bandit to death. So she did her job, despite not having a weapon. As I was about to say, you saw the combat UI pop up. Anyone who is involved in combat gets that red and yellow bar above their head, which I believe represents health and morale. And here's the other bandit. We can see Gimbal Bronze Tar's morale going down, and his health going down as he is in combat. Maybe here is Verdeline Lumberly to the rescue. They had to pick a fight in this alley. Oh, she's got a saber. Wow, she's a much better soldier than our actual professional soldier. Go get him, Verdeline. She's just stabbed a man to death. Good on you. All right. So the bands have actually offered a truce, which I probably should have accepted earlier. They won't plunder our settlement in exchange for being left alone. I think they might all be dead, but if they're not, let's call for peace in our time. So we can see the corpse of the earlier bandit has been buried, and Seth Robin here, one of the convict laborers, has picked up the other convict corpse for burial. So I think this colony is on stable footing. What do I need next? Actually, I think we need some bedding, so I'm going to build a lower class bunkhouse. I'll just put it over here. That needs logs and stone, which we've got plenty. So let's give this building a door or two. And 2 cots for now. I can always build more. Oh, there's a lot of blood in that alley. Let's clean that up. There we go. So, aside from the lower class house, what should I build next? I suppose, in order to build any of the more advanced buildings, I'm actually going to need bricks. So it would behoove me to build a ceramics workshop next. And fortunately, I've got a supply of clay quite close by. So let's queue that up too. Let's put it over here. Let's give the ceramics workshop a door, and let's say 2 kilns. It's probably overkill at this point. And because I'm reasonably... Okay, yes, I've got some balsam cloth in there. I'm going to put a cot in here as well. Okay, so I think we can let things run for a little bit. I am going to start collecting this clay, though. Okay, so the prisoner crew has just departed. The prisoner crew, though, it came with guys in the stripy prison jumpsuits and an overseer to administer them. So they've all left, which will make the food situation a little less dire in the colony, but also I have fewer work crews available for work. I do notice that I'm collecting black fungus, but not ordering any of it cooked. There we go. Actually, I think I'm going to have to focus a little bit more on food. Do I have any laborers? Okay, so Mr. Pendelhewer here is... His crew is assigned to the workshop, and although making logs, or making planks out of logs is an important job, I only have 1 carpentry workbench, so only 1 guy can work in there at a time. So I'm actually going to take the worker out of here and assign him to this work crew, which is assigned to the kitchen workshop, just so I can increase the cooked food output. I might also have to... Maybe I'll plant another field. Again, you can see the guys who have been tending this field have been doing it essentially non-stop because of the growth rate of the corn. So I'm going to plot out another farm, and I'm actually going to have to decide what to plant in it. Let's make this a small one. That's a little smaller than I was... That should probably be okay, because I'm not going to pick a crop for it yet. Somebody is thinking fishy thoughts. Edwina Goldenhewer, I'll bet. Yes, she is a vocal opponent of our fishman policy. So our current fishman policy is peaceful diplomacy. If I take her advice and actually turn hostile, Edwina Goldenhewer will be happy. If I stay the diplomatic course, she'll be angry. Or I can just ignore them and we'll stay the course and just pretend we didn't hear Edwina. So that will provoke, I think, no reaction from Edwina. But it should be noted, ignoring things is no permanent solution. Good advice for Clockwork Empires and real life. What? Oh, here we go. What do I want to grow on this farm? So right now I've got corn growing in the big field, which has a medium, just medium across the board. I think we can try for some, oh, there goes the autosave. I think we can try for some high yield crops, since this is going to be a very low, it's a very small field. So maybe the high, a crop with high labor requirement will not overwhelm my work crews. See, cabbage is very high maintenance. Yeah, let's make this a cabbage patch. Right, we're now growing cabbage here on the secondary plot. Let's chop down this tree. It's blocking my view of my cabbage plot. Alright. So at this point in the game, if we're playing, I would just sit back for a couple of minutes and watch my laborers just assemble these buildings. I get the feeling it might be a little bit dull for people watching this video. So I'm going to cut here, and we'll cut back in a couple minutes time. Obviously I'll still be watching, so if anything unexpected happens, I'll be able to catch it on video, hopefully. No guarantees, it's late at night and I'm tired. Right, so here we are. Skipped ahead in time a little bit. I don't remember what day it was when we left. Now we've had a little bit of immigration. We're up to maybe 13 colonists. The structures for the bunkhouse and the ceramics workshop have been completed, and one of the kilns has been completed. I've already got some clay in the stockpile, so I'm going to get a work crew in here. And I'm going to say I always want a standing order of, say, 5 bricks. So make 5 bricks, turn it into a standing order. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of fine-tuning here. So the crew that got assigned to the kiln here, or the ceramics workshop, Mrs. Goldenhewer, right now they have all their job filters off, which is default. A crew that's not yet assigned to a workshop has some filters enabled, in fact everything but hunting. But a crew that gets assigned to a workshop has all their filters turned off, so they do nothing but workshop jobs. However, breaking mix, yes. Baking bricks is not something that needs to be done all the time. We'll only occasionally need more bricks. So I'm going to say, when this crew is not baking bricks, they can be doing all the other random jobs around town. And actually that's something I already did to the crew that works at the carpentry workshop. Once again, we don't need planks all the time. So when there are no more planks to be made, they can be doing things like mining, farming, and hauling. Another thing I did was because the colony was running really short on food, I actually assigned them to forage this gigantic area which used to have a whole bunch of black fungus, and it's been turned into these tasty crates of pickled black cup fungus. So hopefully that will help stave off hunger for a little while. I'm a little concerned that nobody has planted this cabbage field. Don't know what's going on here. Is it because I made the field too narrow? You know what? I'm going to scrap this field, which is something we can do now. And just going to double check. Yep, the job left the field here. I'm going to make a proper field over here. Not too big. And when this autosave finishes, I'm going to assign it to cabbage farming. So, there we go. I want cabbage here. Oh, and I had an Empire favor. I called in a naturalist, and he has explored a long way. So the naturalist will survey these golden mineralogy report sites, and it'll tell me what a mine built here will yield up. In this case, hematite, which is necessary for the production of iron, which is necessary for the production of metal goods, etc., etc. He's already surveyed a few more. He even served this one in the middle of town, which was kind of unnecessary. So things are going smoothly. Brick production should be up and running shortly, and we've got good progress on everything else. Most of those random little cots I ordered built around town have been constructed, so hopefully more people are able to get some sleep. What to build next? Oh, but first I get a fresh new overseer from the Empire because of reports of great economic progress. Excellent. Let's see, who is the new overseer? Mrs. Orsworth. Welcome to the colony, Mrs. Orsworth. What do we build next? Well, I've got the ceramics work. I guess the next thing I should build... You know, I'm not going to build a metalworks right quite yet. I think I'm going to build a chapel. I've got some unhappy people around town. And the chapel doesn't require any fancy metal parts. I think it just needs bricks and wood. Let's plop down the chapel over here. I like to make it kind of cross-shaped. Yeah, just needs 2 bricks and 4 planks. And once the ceramics workshop starts producing bricks, we should be able to finish the chapel. All it needs is a door and an altar. It's actually pretty small. I'm going to chop down these trees here. Often I don't really need the wood at this point, although it is good to keep up some small amount of logging at all times. But more often than not, I'm chopping down trees because they're blocking my view of my colony. So there we go. I'm also going to fill in some of these gaps with gabions, just so my colony can have a whole, like a solid wall around the edge, which hopefully will keep people safe when we see foreign invaders. At the very least, it'll keep the dumb fishmen out and hopefully the giant beetles out. Because beetles don't know anything about walls, but they do a number on crops. And right now my crops are in the middle of town. So giant beetles, in fact every beetle, can appear as part of the Ravenous Herd event. That's a random event that pops up every now and then, and you get an alert. So a bit like a bandit raid, except obviously you can't negotiate with the beetles. And a number of beetles of various sizes will attempt to swarm your fields, destroying your food crops, which might be disastrous if your colony is functioning only marginally. And what happens is they'll eat your crops. Your soldiers, such as they are, will try to kill them. And of course, every beetle you kill drops beetle flesh, which is good because you're going to need that meat because they will have destroyed all your corn. Unless, of course, you've somehow lost your military or whatever, then they just go to town and you just never have crops ever again, and probably your colony will starve. So, see, things seem to be going pretty well. And here we come back to the colony. We've completed the chapel, and as we can see, there's some fishmen walking through town. I don't know what they're here for, they're just walking purposefully. Where are they going? Well, I guess they're doing their own thing, their own inscrutable fishy things. Yeah, so the chapel is complete. I actually assigned an overseer to it. So, who's the Vertaline Strong Tonic here, will occasionally minister to the colonists. Now, I just picked the next available the next available overseer. Ideally, you want an overseer who has maybe see this icon here? This is the symbol of the Church of the Holy Cog that Elsa Orsworth has. that can also show up as a trait, and that's someone with a religious inclination. Now, none of my colonists had that, or I would have assigned them to be the vicar. So I just assigned Verdeline instead. She was the next available. Now, the interesting thing about Verdeline is one of her desires is to start a cult. She's already fulfilled this other desire to make a friend. She also wants a bed suitable to her station. So I don't know if her cult inclinations are going to interfere with her church duties. I've heard it's possible to have an insane cultist cleric, so that could be fun. And also, being assigned a vicar without having the religious trait also makes characters a little bit angry sometimes. So, at best, she's a little bit conflicted about her new role in the colony. But she seems to be busying herself working in the clay pits. What's going on here? Oh, someone's questioning the fishman intimidation policy. So, Verdeline Lumberly, was she my vicar? No, that's Verdeline Strong Tonic. Verdeline Lumberly is my militia NCO, I believe. Yep. So she's been intimidating fish people. The game is telling me this might have repercussions for the future. It might provoke conflict. Well, let's enforce the rules. I only want conflict if they do destructive things like stomping on my crops or breaking my gabions. The cabbage crop is coming in nicely, actually, as is the corn harvest. So I think we're doing okay in that regard. I should probably queue up some cabbage stew here. Make that a standing order. I think the labor issues have been largely sorted out now. I've had immigration, so I've had a couple of overseers and a little bit of the laborer immigration. And the jobs list is only ongoing jobs. Now I am getting a little bit of spoilage, but the cabbage field is still producing nicely, I think. So cabbage is very, very labor intensive. It hits the next step quickly and requires tending very quickly. Nonetheless, we have some cabbage stew. So the reason food is so labor intensive now, as I mentioned in a previous episode, crops grow faster, and they also only yield half what they used to, which is to say one crop, or 1 bushel per plant. And cooking that bushel only yields 1 food item, so stew in the case of corn or cabbage, where it used to yield 2. So 1 plant no longer yields 4 stew, it now only yields 1. And it spoils much faster, but it grows much faster. Which puts a new emphasis on food production. And food is of course necessary to keep everyone fed and happy and alive. Nonetheless, I think we've left the colony in a good place now. The colony is self-sustaining. I think I'm going to cut this one off here, but for future episodes we're going to concentrate on establishing the production base. So work on the metalworks, start producing some metal goods. So I'm going to start getting some weapons, still, because the colony still only has 1 pistol to defend itself with. That said, thank you very much for tuning in for another episode of Alfred's playthrough of Clockwork Empires, now officially in alpha. We're now in alpha 42. Clockwork Empires is a work in progress. It's being published, or being developed and published by Gaslamp Games. It's available through Steam in their early access program. I hope, as I always say, I hope these videos have given you some idea of, how the game feels, whether or not you might be interested in jumping in. If you want to wait for a finished game, it's a perfectly legitimate reason to do so, right? However, thank you for tuning into these videos that I do largely for my own amusement. Have a good one.